Chapter 34. The Battle of Hunayn. After the conquest of Makkah, one of the tribal communities that consumed Prophet Muhammad's attention was the Hawazin. Divided into many subclans, the Hawazin resided in the regions between Makkah and Najd, and in the south stretching all the way to Yemen. Constituting a significant clan of the tribe, the Thaqif were located in Taif. The enmity between the Hawazin and the Quraysh, due in large part to trade relations and continuing from the Age of Ignorance, had now been directed towards Prophet Muhammad, who was also from the Quraysh, and the religion of Islam that he conveyed. As some of the tribe's clans had violated the terms of the Treaty of Hudaybiyah relating to travel security, the Prophet dispatched small military expeditions upon them. However, as their resentment and hostilities continued to increase, the Hawazin became one of the greatest priorities for Prophet Muhammad during the conquest of Makkah after the Quraysh. While he was in Makkah, the Prophet was informed, by a spy intercepted by the Muslims, of the great preparations that the Hawazin were making for a war against them. On the other hand, upon the destruction of the Uzza idol located on the road to Taif, the Thaqif feared the imminent destruction of their own idol, Lat, and joined the Hawazin encamped at Autas. At the head of the Hawazin army was 30-year-old Malik ibn Auf as commander. Despite the opposition of experienced individuals, Malik ibn Auf commanded that women, children, goods and animals be brought to the front line in order to keep his troops on the battlefield. This meant all-out war against the Muslims. Upon Abdullah ibn Hadrad al-Aslami, who the Prophet had sent for gathering intelligence, confirming the news of Hawazin and Thaqif's gathering in the valley of Autas, the Prophet began preparations for battle. Subsequently, 17 days after the conquest of Makkah, he set out with an army numbering 12,000, together with the 2,000 Makkah Muslims who had newly joined on 6th Shawwal, 27th January 630. The Muslim army included female companions such as Umara, Harith, and Sulaym. Heading towards Autas on Thursday 11th Shawwal, 1st February 630, the Muslim army reached Hunayn during the night and waited here until the break of dawn. At dawn, they mobilized behind the advance guard of 100 cavalry from the Banu Sulaym and headed by Khalid ibn Walid. At dawn, they mobilized behind the advance guard of 100 cavalry from the Banu Sulaym and were headed by Khalid ibn Walid. Reaching the valley of Hunayn before the Muslims and setting up ambush in its narrowest and sandiest section, the Hawazin's fire of arrows upon the advance guard meant an actual start of battle. As it was still rather dark, it was very difficult to ascertain the location of the enemy lying in ambush. In addition, the atmosphere of confusion and panic generated by the restless horses and camels led to the dispersion of the advance guard and the disorderly retreat of the central units, such that there were very few soldiers remaining around the Prophet. The Quran draws attention to the reason for the disarray being the Muslims seeing themselves as superior due to their multitudes, and the resultant lack in complete reliance in God, and states that their eventual victory was due to the spiritual support they received from God following this bitter experience. The scattered army quickly pulled itself together with the Prophet's warning and his daring and resolute intervention, and reached a victory after a very fierce battle. The vast majority of the Hawazin forces, along with their commander, sought protection in Taif, and some at Autas, while others fled to Nala. In this way, this battle, which constituted the last peak of the Bedouin Arabs against the Muslims, ended with the triumph of the Muslims. It is reported that in this battle 4 Muslims were martyred and 70 enemy soldiers killed, including the famous poet and warrior Durayd ibn al-Simma. Prophet Muhammad commanded his companions not to harm children, women, servants and slaves, and was extremely grieved by the death of a woman on that day. Advancing upon Taif, where the majority of the fleeing Hawazin forces sought shelter, the day after the battle, Prophet Muhammad sent a unit each to Autas and Nala. The unit sent to Nala abandoned their pursuit when the fleeing enemy soldiers withdrew to the mountains. As for the unit sent to Altas under the command of Abu Amir al-Ashari, they achieved victory in the ensuing battle with the Hawazin. However, Abu Amir was martyred. Assuming command, Abu Musa al-Ashari brought the prisoners and spoils seized to Jirana, upon the Prophet's orders, where the spoils taken from Hunayn were gathered.